many of you still have one of these in your possession, I wonder? A few of you, great to see. I recently pulled this out of my treasured vinyl collection. My teenage daughter's initial reaction was, is it a calendar? And then, as I pulled the black shiny disc out of its sleeve and placed it on the turntable, she wondered whether maybe it was a frisbee. I let the sound of Where the Streets Have No Name blare out. Now, I bought this. This was one of the first albums I remember buying as a student, and it really was how we listened to music in the old days. And I love that vinyl is now making a revival. Her reaction when I put the turntable on was, seriously, Mum, why would you listen to music like that when you can listen to all of your music like this and listen to what you want anytime, anywhere? She did concede that the sound was sharp, but frankly, it was all a bit alien to her, and she couldn't understand why I would want to take bits of plastic around. When I was preparing for this talk, I was reflecting on the time that I bought U2, the U2 Joshua Tree album, and the journey of discovery, actually, that I've been on since being a student in the mid to late 80s to where I am now. A career in the entertainment industry, which spanned retail, film, and music, and now into a career in education. All have been touched by discovery and by technology. And as I reflected on that journey, the thing that I realised is that change really is a continuum, and we're all on that journey of discovery, and the future really is yet to be imagined. When I graduated 30 years ago, the largest grossing film at the box office was Rain Man. It grossed just over $400 million, according to Business Insider. Roll forward to the beginning of this year, 2018, Black Panther was released. It has already gone on to gross over $1.3 billion at the box office. Now, like many of you, I went to see Black Panther when it was released. I'm a big Avengers fan. And like many of you, I also sat through the 15 or 20 minutes of credits at the end. And I'll tell you why I sat through them. I sat through them because I wanted to see the 2 extra clips that were embedded at the end of the movie. I wanted to know what that marvel that was Stan Lee had in store for the next installment of the Avengers series. But as I sat through the credits, there were a couple of things that came to mind. One was literally thousands of people were involved in the making of this blockbuster. According to IMDb, the film was shot or worked with companies in over 16 countries around the globe, and over 3,000 people worked on the making of this fantastic blockbuster. It really was an example of the studios and the film companies at the centre, the production companies, working with an ecosystem of established businesses, freelancers, and SMEs around the globe. And of the 3,000 people working on this film, over half of them were working in visual effects, some of them probably independently at home. It really was a fantastic example, I thought, of a global creative project, creating real connectivity and enterprise. Now, Black Panther is a fantastic example of how an industry, the film industry, has continually transformed itself through the use of technology, but it's not unique. I wonder if you can think of a single business that's grown or developed over the last 5, 10, 15 years that hasn't been impacted by technology. It's difficult, isn't it? I thought maybe roof thatching, but I wasn't sure. I'm sure somebody will tell me there's technology there as well in the maths. But actually, it's not just the fact that that industry is transformed and new industries have been transformed by technology. It's also the number of new jobs that have sprung up over the last 5, 10, 15 years, never mind 30 years. Jobs like the data mining engineer, who knows what I'm going to buy for Christmas before I even know what I'm getting everybody for Christmas. The cloud architect, the blogger, who has now transformed to becoming the vlogger. When I was graduating 30 years ago, none of these jobs were on my radar or even within the realm of my imagination. It really was a future yet to be imagined. The challenge now is, how do you and I prepare ourselves and future generations for the next 5 years, 10 years, never mind 30 years? How do we reimagine the future? What I am clear about is that education has a critical role to play in this. Education, but in particular, lifelong learning. Now, education, for a very long time, and I think transformation of it is something that we really need to think about. Education has historically been about academic excellence. It's been about the traditional subjects. We measure how well somebody is doing by their ability to retain knowledge. And actually, we also measure how successful they are by looking at exams. There's very, very little space in curriculums around the world, and the UK included, for things like technical education, vocational education, the creatives. Indeed, actually, for far too long, technical education, vocational education, skills, has been seen as what other people's kids do. I think this is something that needs a serious rethink if we are going to be prepared for that yet-to-be-imagined future and be successful and set future generations up to be successful. Now, Jack Ma, the inspirational co-founder of Alibaba Group, the Chinese multinational, recently talked about education at the World Economic Summit. And what he said was really stark. He said, if we do not change the way we teach, in 30 years' time, we will be in big trouble. He goes on to say, we cannot teach our kids to compete with the computers who are smarter. And he's right, they do maths quicker, they do algorithms quicker, they do processing quicker. What he says is we have to teach them something unique. In that way, 30 years later, our kids will have a chance. Now that is a bold and powerful statement, and one that really needs to be heard, and I think acted upon now. Now, education in its truest sense is about preparing us for the future, life, including careers. And I think it's important as we look at education that we acknowledge all of the things that have worked perfectly in the past. So setting basic skills around numeracy and literacy, actually acquiring knowledge, but also the role of the inspirational teacher. But in an environment where change is at such a pace, do we need to think about how education evolves and how we prepare young people for the future? So when I think of change, I think of the exponential rate of change in technology. I think of globalization, urbanisation, shifts in demographics, the new ecosystems that is Black Panther. And you kind of think, well, how do we prepare for that? One of the tracks on the U2 album that I talked about earlier is Running to Stand Still. And I do feel like we are literally running to stand still against that backdrop of change. And education, I think, has a really important role to play in preparing us and future generations, but it needs to be transformed. Now, not so long ago, it truly was chalk, talk, and a blackboard. But technology is helping to change some of this. And I think we need to learn how to embrace technology. I think we're on a journey of discovery with regards to technology and education. Technology has the potential to create great access. It has the potential to open our eyes to the world around us far more than we do than now. So for a moment, just imagine a classroom of kids in Mumbai doing a history lesson. They're using virtual reality. They're able to be transported to the pyramids in Egypt. They're able to learn about the making of these magnificent monuments. They're able to see the intricate designs. They're able to learn about the engineering methods that were used all that time ago. Or what about a budding astronomer? A budding astronomer. Learning about the solar system, our solar system and the outer reaches by using augmented reality. Now, I love these examples because I think what they show is that young people are really adept to independent learning, but they're also incredibly comfortable with technology. I think of my own kids, not always comfortably when I think of this. They'll be doing their homework. They'll probably have headphones on, listening to music, not U2. They'll be keeping an eye on the telly, on the football score to make sure Arsenal are winning. They'll have a textbook open on their desk. They'll have the laptop open, and there'll be learning apps running on the laptop. It really is a mind-blowing example of multitasking. and one that actually sometimes feels incredibly alien to me, but it's incredibly comfortable for them and the norm. They are completely at ease with multitasking in this way and working with technology in this way. And it is these young kids who are going to be having the careers of the future. So for them, actually working with technology is the norm now, and it will be in the future. So do we need to think about how we embed technology more, how we use it to help create access and awareness? I do think it is a discovery journey that we're on, though, because what I wouldn't advocate is we hand over a smartphone to a young person and say, go teach yourself, because actually there's so much knowledge and information out there. We need to learn to harness it. We need to learn to make sure that it can fit with what works well in teaching now, creating those opportunities. One of the things I love most about the power of technology, actually, is its ability to potentially break down barriers, both financial and geographical. So the example of the kids in Mumbai, you don't have to go to the pyramids to learn about the pyramids. Technology can help you do that. It can export you there. Now, I think technology is one aspect that we need to be working through, but actually there's another. When I talked about the educational landscape now, one of the things that I said was that there is a real snobbery, I think, towards skills, vocational, technical education. Yet, if you look at many economies, many developing economies, they are looking at putting vocational and technical education at the heart of what they do. If you look at China, you look at India, you look at the UK, what they recognise is in order to prepare for that yet to be imagined future, we really need to rethink what we value in education. It is about academics and skills, but it's also about the adaptability of education, being able to think and rethink our future and prepare young people for that yet to be imagined future. Now, I wonder if I asked you all to think of a skilled worker, what would pop into your head? I'd be really interested to know. But I wonder whether it would be an entry-level job or perhaps somebody working with their hands. Now, have a think of the surgeon using robotics to perform keyhole surgery. She'll be building on our whole training at med school to support a patient. She'll be using technology to critically appraise how her patient is responding to treatment and evaluating new treatments. They'll need to keep up to date for new technology, new changes in technology and new advances in medical science. Or what about the care worker working with an elderly patient, a real challenge that actually we're facing, a global aging population? The care worker is probably working with neuroscience to create a well-being plan. They'll be helping to monitor how the patient is responding to this. They'll be tweaking the treatments as they go. But what the care worker and the doctor will need to do is keep up to date for changes in technology, but also changes in medical advancement. So I think we really need to kind of have a reflection about that word skills and do some myth busting and actually think, are skills really critical as part of our education system? Is it about how we prepare young people to accumulate knowledge and apply knowledge to their world, to their lives now and into the future? There's the budding astronomer, everybody. And there is the doctor who is using robotics to perform keyhole surgery, and the care worker showing bags of empathy looking after their patient. Now, I wonder whether, as we move forward, embedding in our education system is not just about passing an exam and accumulating knowledge, but it is really about helping, through the design of curriculum, to build creativity, build cultural awareness so that we could work with that ecosystem that was Black Panther. Problem solving, reflective learning, so that we can actually prepare young people for lots of different jobs. I was reflecting on the role of a data mining analyst, who apparently most retail organisations now have, and they really do know what you're all going to be buying for Christmas before you do. But they're going to be working differently in 3 to 5 years' time. They're actually, in addition to kind of doing analytics, they're going to increasingly need to think about ethics and regulations, navigating their way and our way through that minefield that is data privacy. So roles continually change, And if actually we create narrow roles and a narrow education system for young people, we're not preparing them to be adaptable. So I really do think embedding skills is going to be critical, and we need to think about doing it now from early years. Oops. Now, I think there is one other area that we kind of need to consider when we think about the education system of the future. And I've touched on this already. And I think it's creating that culture and love of lifelong learning. The doctor, the care worker, the data mining analyst, none of those are going to continue being successful in their jobs unless they continue to learn. And learning will be through a number of different mediums. And that is because of the pace of change that is happening around us. When I think of the future and I look back at my own career, I was lucky enough to work in an FE college for a while, a further education college, and I saw firsthand the power of vocational education, of skills and lifelong learning, helping to transform the lives of young people and adults. So skills like public speaking, sport, music, teaching people to work together, build interpersonal skills, really helping prepare them for that future yet to be imagined. Now, I think it's clear that change is a constant. We are on a continual discovery of learning and a journey, and the future really is yet to be imagined. Second track of the U2 album, I'm coming back to the U2 album, I like the U2 album, is I still haven't found what I'm looking for. So as I finish, I'd like to reflect, or like you to reflect on how we transform education to really prepare ourselves for that yet to be imagined future. Rethinking how we include technology, rethinking the skills that we need, rethinking lifelong learning. And I'd like you to imagine for a moment a mum in Chennai, a student in Rio, a retired teacher in New Zealand, all with a passion for saving the environment. They are using their connectivity, all of their learning. They're able to find a solution for making plastics biodegradable, bringing our oceans back to life, finding answers and solutions for that yet to be imagined future. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.